Are you ready to get excited about an AEW Dynamite review? It's really easy to get excited for a Dynamite review when the Dynamite we're reviewing was so good. When it was an excellent episode of AEW Dynamite. When the feeling's there. When everything is connecting. When absolutely everything clicks. Everything works. Everything this 2-hour wrestling program, when they do everything right, when everything that they try just gels and hits and makes sense and is good and is compelling and creates anticipation. I've got nothing but praise to shower on the July 3rd edition of AEW Dynamite. Nothing but. This was an excellent show. Happy 4th of July to all you Yanks. Belated Canada Day greetings to y'all Canucks. I'm Warren Hayes. And look, if you were like, oh, I wonder what Warren thought about the show, and you wanted my thoughts. Well, there, you can stop here if you want. Don't, though. That'd be nice if you listened the whole way. But you could. I just gave it all away. Like, from this point moving forward, we've got nothing but good things to talk about. Look, I mean, hey, even the amount of tickets that were distributed last night at the Wintrust Arena, 5,291, is above the regular AEW average. The last time they were at Wintrust, 5,066. So, a bit more, a little more tickets. They were there by the way, in November 2023. That's the last time that AEW was in the Wintrust Arena. Now, look, we could sit here and talk about how, how New Japan did a stronger house with Windy City Riot than this. Sure, we can talk about how AEW has lost Chicago to a degree, where for its formative years, AEW essentially owned Chicago. They could do no wrong. They'd fill out every building every time they'd show up, right? So, I mean, we could talk about that, but I don't think this is necessarily the moment. I think I'd be doing this show and you, the viewer, a disservice, because I really want to talk about this show. The problems for ticket attendance are here. We'll absolutely have another opportunity to talk about attendance figures like we usually do here on the Dynamite review, but not today. Not today, Zerg. We're not going through this. We got to talk about this perfectly put together Dynamite, this well thought out Dynamite, which is the best post pay-per-view show you could have. Where if you follow the logic of a pay-per-view being a turning point for all your stories, you're closing down stories or you're creating massive beats for other stories, whichever way you want to look at it, a pay-per-view is a turning point, right? You close down stories, and I just said that. I don't need to repeat myself. But it's essentially a turning point. So if the show after a big pay-per-view is supposed to kick off new stories, take stories in new directions, build off of what happened at the pay-per-view, hot damn. I have not seen one of these so successful in a while. This is the pinpoint. I'm telling you, I think I have one quibble, but it is so minor. It's mostly a gripe, an annoyance, an irk. I've been irked, but we'll get to that in due time. How should we do this? You know what? We're going from the top, because I can't wait to talk about this main event and the subsequent angle. We're gonna start with the top of the card, and then we'll see after. But we're absolutely starting with Will Ospreay defeating Daniel Garcia to retain the AEW International title. That's absolutely what we're going to start off with, because in and about itself, this was a tremendous match. Such a kick-ass match. Where are my notes? The work between them both was awesome, you know, and Garcia showing that he can hang, which is something that a lot of us already knew, but showing that he can hang. And the story here, Will being in the position of the veteran, of the I don't know, what else would you call it? The veteran, the good experienced hand, the world-traveled, well-seasoned, perfectly rounded pro wrestler, you know, the greatest pro wrestler on planet Earth, basically giving Garcia an opportunity, but it's like trying to drag the best out of him too, right? Where Will is offering himself up for offense, egging him in ways to, not as a heel, but to better himself, to come at me, Danny, with everything you got, right? And of course, I forgot to mention that MJF is there at ringside, because in the cold open to Dynamite, Garcia is there, you know, hyping up his match, and he's with Daddy Magic, and then MJF arrives, and he's like, look, you know, yeah, and he's like, you know, we'll talk about the Wembley match coming up, you know, but I'd like to be in your corner tonight. And Garcia goes, that's swell, awesome, I'm down for that. And Matt Menard shakes his hand after once Garcia leaves, and he's like, look, you've done good by my boy Danny, so thank you, you know, kind of things. So you're swell, you're swell, you're okay in my book. Oh boy, right then and there, it started to smell fishy, you know. No matter how much you want to believe in MJF being the guy who's going to do the right thing, you're like, oh boy, there's a little something going on. Anyway, but so MJF is there at ringside, and he's cheering Garcia on, giving him, you know, hyping him up, giving him the props. You can do it, Danny, you know, so on and so forth. Because meanwhile in the ring, these guys, Ospreay, Garcia, they're dropping each other on their heads. They're going all out, striking, and Garcia is on top of the game here. Like, he studied his tape. He was ready for it, because he's countering the hidden blade. He's countering the Os cutter. Like, Garcia came into this match ready. He was saying, this is the biggest opportunity I had. You know, I can't lose this match. And you felt it. You felt like he was ready, and that he was wrestling to the best that he absolutely can. At some point, MJF gets involved. I gotta mute this phone. What are we doing here? At some point, MJF pulls out the Dynamite Diamond ring, hands it to Danny, and he's like, use it. And Garcia at first is not quite sure, but then he gets clobbered by Will. He bounces back, and then MJF starts to insist, do it, and he puts the ring on, and he's like, man, I can't do it. He wants to win this the right way, gives it back to MJF, and as he turns around, because he took too much time contemplating, thinking, can I do this? Should I do this? Etc. He turns around, eats a hidden blade right to the face, like, whomp, just gets completely steamrolled. Like, maybe more like a lawnmower, a weed whacker. He got weed whacked. That's kind of weird. But you know, like straight in the face. Garcia falls, and Ospreay wins. Tremendous match. Look, the match is phenomenal. I thought it was really good. And it's up there for me. I gave this 4.5 stars. This is the kind of shit that Dynamite main events are made of. This is the kind of stuff that keeps you glued to your seat, and then glued so much that you're ready to watch the rest of the overrun because of the tremendous post-match angle that's going to happen. But look, let's get into it then. Garcia's in the ring and he's upset. He's sad. Like he's just straight up sad. Can't believe he fucked up, you know. He's mad at himself, and Ospreay consoles him, hits the bricks, you know, does the clap, clap, clap point, but he gets the hell out of Dodge. MJF gets in the ring, and you know, they do the camera mic pickup thing, right? Where you hear them talk, and MJF is going, dude, that's not your fault. That was on me. I'm sorry. He, you know, extends a hand, lifts him up, and kicks him in the nuts. Just a straight kick right in the no-nos, and the crowd instantly turns on MJF. Brilliant stuff. And if only it ended there. MJF decides he's going to teach this kid a lesson. He decides that he's going to show this kid what he's made of, and so he gets on top of him and starts beating him down with the ring savagely. And Garcia bleeds, and it is a fantastic beatdown. And he just goes to town on him, just kicking the absolute shit out of him. Matt Menard runs in to try to save. MJF sees him coming, bonk, decks him with the ring before Menard can get into the ring, so he falls to the floor, and he bleeds. He bleeds like he's, you know, fucking Carrie. Just like it's over his eyes. It is the wildest. It is the wildest blade job I have seen in a while, because you're looking at him and because you legitimately see him and he's like, is he bleeding from the eyes? It's tremendous. Matt Menard running the razor like it's nobody's business. How did we not know he was this good of a juicer? Jesus. So MJF is just, you know, he took care of Menard. He basically has free reign. He's doing whatever the hell he wants. Officials start coming to the ring, and MJF's got Garcia up on the second rope. He's in a tombstone piledriver position, and he fucking does it. He does an avalanche tombstone on Garcia, who was already like destroyed, and now just like this, just compounds it. And you know, there's nothing that the staff could do. Scrap Daddy Christopher Daniels is there. Maybe a little annoyance, a little something where he's pleading with them. You know, again, they're doing the camera pickup thing, and he's like, "Why did you do this?" And it's like, no, this is corny. This is dumb. It shouldn't be. Why did you do this? Is like, you need to get the hell out of here. You're gonna be fined. Whatever the fuck. But listen, that's what you know, Daniels is doing. But it's a minor gripe. I don't want to give the impression that this turned me off, because it didn't. I was like, come on, let's move away from Scrap Daddy Daniels here, and let's move on to MJF. If after all of this, Will Ospreay comes out, right? And he's hobbling to the ring because he's selling the thing. Why didn't he run out before? Well, he was likely in the trainer's room. He was, you know, it's like, and he's selling the fact that he was just in a grueling match. He's hobbling a little to the ring, right? So it all makes sense. You know, he didn't like suddenly dash to the ring instantly. To me, I have no issues with this. You know, anyone who's scratching at this has never watched a wrestling match before. So Ospreay hits the ring, and you know, and MJF does, all right, come on, let's do it now. You know, MJF wasn't, you know, he took his Triple H jacket off, and he you know, he had a white wife beater underneath, which was just like covered in blood. It was such a tremendous visual. It was so good. But now he takes it off because he's like, let's go. But of course he takes a powder once. Ospreay hits the ring, and then MJF just beelines through the audience, and he is going after fans. There's a fan on the side there that's got his phone as MJF walks and swats it out of his hand. So the fan is like, what? You can see the fan going, dude, Just my phone. I'm sure Amanda Huber pulled him backstage and cut him a nice check so he could get a nice new iPhone. It's fine, or the brand new Pixel 8, whatever the fuck. I'm sure it was fine. It was well handled after. Then he gets into, then he like confronts these guys in the audience, right? And this one dude is incensed. This one dude, like, they touch heads. They're like head to head, and they're like, "Ugh." This one guy, like, I swear he would have torn MJF's eyes out of his head. I'm convinced. It was, and again, I don't have a problem with this. And security was there, to pushing the guy back, but also letting it happen. Like, was it a plant? It didn't feel like a plant. This looked really legit. And then we cut back to the ring, and Daniel Garcia is doing a stretcher job. He's doing a stretcher job. Great fucking angle. What a fantastic way to wrap up this show with and kick off what is very likely going to be one of the top programs of All In at Wembley. It's such a tremendous angle. I can't even begin to think properly at how great this was. Maybe exaggerating, because I think I've expressed it pretty well as to how much I thought this ruled. It was absolutely tremendous. And MJF is a heel again. And he was supposed to be a heel. He was always meant to be a heel. If there's one thing I find that AEW gets right, that Tony Khan gets right, is when he's bringing back heels or people that, specifically heels, or bringing in people, bringing them back or introducing them like Mercedes Moné, he's going to start them off as baby faces because people are going to be excited. And it was a smart move with MJF too, to start him off as a baby face, or at least, tweener heel, but very much, we could make an argument as to whether he was a true baby face or whether he was a tweener, like really leaning into to babyface territory. We could chat about that, but bear with me here just for the sake of this argument. So Tony Khan brings these people in, has them show up as baby faces, only to turn them soon thereafter. Mercedes Moné is going to be an excellent example tonight, and MJF was bound to happen. Look, MJF told us on his return promo at Double or Nothing, he said, it's no longer going to be about love. It's going to be all about hate, hate, hate. He warned us. He told us. And I don't know why anyone is like shocked or surprised. This was coming. It was inevitable. It was going to happen. And the fact that it happens now is tremendous. And I, myself, could not be more excited at the prospect of a full-on heel MJF who goes back to just being not our scumbag, a scumbag, a despicable person, because that's his strength. And if anything, the babyface turn of 2023 for MJF has probably made us want this more. This is probably what we've been most excited about. I was so done with kangaroo kick, happy-go-lucky, brochacho, my best friend, I love him so much, MJF. I want the MJF that was brought to the party in the first place. Not the guy cosplaying as a presidential candidate either. The nasty, the nasty, mean, bad faith MJF. The guy who gets people angry on social media because they don't realize they're getting worked. The guy that I wrote an article about on Voices of Wrestling last year or so, about how you have to let this guy be an asshole. You have to let him be who he is. Embrace it. I'm excited for it. It's the best possible direction. And kicking it off like this, sending Garcia to hospital like stretcher, Garcia's going to be gone. And Garcia's going to be gone. This brings us to another point. Garcia, I don't know how, have you, I'm trying to say too many things at once. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it curious that Daniel Garcia, in the lead up to this angle, suddenly had rumors being spread about him on the internet about how he met with WWE officials in Toronto, whatever, it doesn't matter. But he met with WWE officials, and his contract is coming up in 2024, and he may have re-signed with AEW, but also he may not have. And when reached out for comment, he's not giving any. He's not responding. So isn't it interesting, folks, that these rumors of Garcia leaving AEW are happening as he's about to be written off television for a while? I can feel it in my bones. I can feel it brewing in the bottom of my stomach, peeps, that Dan Garcia, in the way he was sent off last night, is not leaving AEW. He is coming back. The rumors to me made no sense because he was in the midst of a push that is subtle, that maybe hasn't been like stuffed down your throat, but has been in a push since the Continental Classic ended, where his story is the elevation of Dan Garcia into another lane within the company. Maybe not the main event stuff, but in another top lane. International title aura, right? That's where we're at. That's what he's been challenging. This has been going on for weeks. Do you think Tony Khan would be pushing a guy if he knew he was leaving? You can argue, you can always bring up the Andrade argument during the Continental Classic. That's fine. But, nonetheless, doesn't make sense. And it didn't make sense to me. All this situation, all this stuff happening. Now it makes even less sense when you know that the payoff to this is going to be Daniel Garcia coming back from injury to challenge MJF for a match, maybe even the international title. We'll cross that. But whenever Daniel Garcia comes back, that dude is a made man. Do you think he wants to head off and hang out in NXT and rejoin his buddy Lexus King and have some matches over there with Lexus King or Ethan Page? Of course not. Start from the bottom in NXT? Of course he doesn't. This guy is made now. He comes back to AEW, he is instantly made. And it makes even more sense that these sudden rumors about his possible departure, of his contract renewal, of him allegedly meeting in WWE officials, it's so convenient that this is being leaked now, that it was leaked just a day or two before Garcia got involved in this tremendous angle. So to a degree, it kind of makes sense that these rumors were leaked, but the rumors in and about themselves, like what they're trying to say, what they're trying to convey, Garcia leaving, do not make sense. They don't make sense. I think this is all a ruse. I think this is all kayfabe 2.0, where you're working the smart fans into believing things, and then you see it translated onto TV, and you go, oh yeah, he's being written off. But in fact, not really. I am willing to put to put 10 Canadian rubber bucks up for grabs. I bet in a bet, of course, that Daniel Garcia is not leaving AEW. That this was not a permanent write-off of television. That he is being set to come back and kick MJF's ass. Look at the story here. Listen, and Matt, we'll have the chance to talk about this over the next few weeks because we're going to see how things develop. But imagine the story. We go to Wembley. MJF defeats Will Ospreay for the international title. And then 2 weeks later, we're at the weekend or the following Dynamite. MJF's in the ring, is gloating. Danny Garcia hits the ring. He is back. He's healed. He's ready. Crowd goes nuts. And he challenges MJF for the belt at All Out, which Garcia wins. You can't have a better story than that. It's tremendous, and it will work. And if you don't think that people would be behind this, look at the reactions he was getting during his match with Ospreay last night. Everyone loves Will Ospreay. That's not the point. You know, I'm not saying that they were turning on Ospreay, but this was a crowd that just wanted these guys to have a great match, and they were rooting for both guys. But I think the concept of Daniel Garcia winning the title sort of put it over a little more, put what he was doing over a little more. Just a tremendous angle. Tremendous stuff. A story in this promotion that doesn't tell stories, that AEW should tell more. So this is something they had started planting the seeds of weeks ago when MJF and Will Ospreay started sharing the same ring and Will Ospreay wouldn't acknowledge MJF, and MJF would just stare darts right at him. Daggers, not just darts. Darts are they're a pub game. Daggers are the real thing. That's what assassins use. And assassinations are not a game. I'm not speaking from experience. Just from my understanding. Please don't inform the authorities that I seem comfortable talking about the world of assassinations. Anyway, just a tremendous angle. A tremendous match. Did I tell you I gave it 4.5 stars? I think I did. A tremendous match and an equally tremendous angle to end the show. Goddamn. Now I'm hooked. Now I'm like, and you'll notice production put up MJF debuts on Collision this week. I'm like, well, of course, I'm watching Collision. I mean, I always would, but now I'm like, all right, yeah, I absolutely am going to tune into Collision. This shit rules, man. This is tremendous stuff. And you want more tremendous stuff? Again, we're hanging out at the top of the card. We'll get to the rest later. But Adam Page being the wild card, showing up and defeating Jeff Jarrett in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Look, I straight up, and you know, I don't think I do. I don't think I do like meme titles, or I try to do over the top statements all that much. But this match, the way everything was executed, from the build to the final bell of this match, was pro wrestling perfection. And I dare anyone to prove me otherwise. This was pro wrestling perfection. Adam Page was the suspected wild card, and that's fine. And he comes to the ring, and he's the heel. He's the heel, and he just wants to beat the shit out of Jeff Jarrett here. That's all he wants to do. Meanwhile, Jeff Jarrett in this match, who had baby-faced himself like to astronomical levels because of his tremendous promo about Owen Hart, worked from beneath the entire way. So you have the dastardly, evil, thug heel just going after Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff Jarrett is trying his best here. Going for his hope spots, they're always crushed. You couldn't get a more old school match structure than this right here. And then he finally mounts his big comeback, locks in the sharpshooter. People go bananas. They want Jeff to win because Jarrett did such a fantastic job getting himself over. And commentary was pushing it as well. But Page, Hangman Adam Page, once the protagonist of AEW, now the antagonist, beats Jeff Jarrett with a buckshot lariat, with some punches to the face, and with a deadeye, all in sequence. Clean as a sheet. No shenanigans. Just a good old beatdown by the bad guy who establishes himself that I am the bad guy. I know a lot of people wanted Jeff Jarrett to win, that they were upset that Jarrett didn't win. Good, you got worked. Fantastic. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I mean that in the best possible sense. It's pro wrestling. You're supposed to feel shit. And if your favorite didn't win because the heel went over, which was the right move, by the way, to give instant heat to Page. This is what happens. Page instant heat, instant top heel heat. Did you really think that Jeff Jarrett was going to advance and win the Owen and then challenge at Wembley Stadium? No, of course not. When you take it reasonably, but so many people wanted him to win because Jeff Jarrett is a tremendous worker, because he tapped into the reality, into that personal issue that he had, that the relationship that he had with Owen Hart. He tapped into that to make people feel something. It's exploitative, Warren. It's pro wrestling. They messed with our emotions. Yes! Yes! Exactly. Like any good TV show will. And the bad guy here just happened to have to get his win. The crowd was so into this. They bought it. They bought every minute of this. And they were even chanting whose house at Page. They know the score. They know what's up. They've been following this story. This story in this company that doesn't tell stories. A story that hasn't been told for months now because Adam Page was off, having babies. He comes back and they still remember because it's a good story. They were chanting swerves. They were chanting whose house the entire way. Well, not the entire way, but just enough to prod them. And Page took a minute to soak it in, to give them the look. I mean, there's your money match. There is your all-in at Wembley Stadium main event. And you would be hard-pressed to find anything that will have more built-in heat than that match. And that's exactly where we're going. That's exactly where we're going. Adam Page got a big reaction, like when his name appeared on the Tonytron, people went nuts. They instantly started chanting cowboy shit. People loved the Hangman. They were ready for him to come back. Apparently, some people thought that the audience was dead. I don't know. We probably weren't listening to the same feed. Maybe the TSN2 feed was better connected on and I'm saying this facetiously because it's the same feed that gets tossed to TBS and TSN up here in Canada. So we're nothing special. In many ways, in multiple ways. People were excited for his return. I saw some commentary. Oh, they shouldn't have teased it. They should have left it a surprise. And I disagree. I think right now, and we've had the surprises talk in the past, in recent shows, where I think, and especially when it came to to Mercedes Moné's debut, I think you don't do the surprise thing. Not when your attendance is struggling, not when your ratings are dipping, and you'd probably announce things in advance. If one of your top guys is coming back, announce it. So they didn't officially say Adam Page is returning, but holy shit, did they ever? Once the Bucks leaned into it and said, "Oh, we have a guy," and then that video promo, that video package that they cut of Adam Page that was aired on Collision. Once that all started to air, I was like, it became pretty obvious that Page was going to be the guy. So, I don't think saving a surprise is always a good thing. Especially when your consumer facing metrics could benefit from announcing cool things happening in your company that maybe will have people tune in a little more on a Wednesday night. Maybe we'll get a couple of hundred more people to buy tickets or whatever. I think you can't do the first dance every time, is what I'm saying. So I'm glad they sort of wink, nudged, but like massive nudge into like right in your nose, like nudge. And what are you doing? I'm glad they did that instead of, being very cagey or super secretive about it. I'm glad that they at least lean into the fact that Page was coming back and you could just do 2 + 2 and see where this was going. So like, to me at this point, now what this does for the tournament is it makes the finish a little more predictable, but I'll be damned if I'm not excited for a Bryan Danielson, Hangman Adam Page main event at the Calgary Saddle Dome next week. It's next week, right? Jesus Christ, it's going to be awesome. What are we doing? That's going to be great. But yeah, your match, and then on top of that, then we're going to have the blood and guts thing. Well, I think you can't have a team AEW if your world champion's not in, right? And I think next week Swerve Strickland's going to show up, and that's what he's going to talk about. And then I think Page is going to add himself probably, now that he, not out of love for the Bucks, because we saw a little later on Adam Page and the Young Bucks, and the Bucks were really happy to have him back, and he basically denied them and said, "No, I don't want anything to do with you guys. I'm not your puppet anymore," kind of thing. But I think once Swerve adds himself to blood and guts, I think he's gonna add himself in, where he's gonna be, "Oh yeah, you're doing this." So we're gonna have that tease there, where they can have another great angle there, another great setup to add some heat to the match for Wembley. Like, to me, the path is making sense. It's appearing before me, and it makes a ton of sense, and I think it's going to be exciting. And I think there are, as it stands right now, we've already got some top programs bubbling that are going to be confirmed over the next couple of weeks, and I think this Wembley show is going to rock. I think it has all the potential to be better than last year. In fact, it should be better than last year. I want to, in regards to Hangman Page, like disassociating himself from the Bucks instead of being all pal, a certain high-profile wrestling commentator, pundit, analyst, who shall remain nameless for now, said on his a show, his daily podcast, that he wondered if Adam Page is still a heel. Can he still be a heel if he's not aligning himself with the Bucks? If he's pushing the Bucks away, isn't that a babyface move? And there's someone who in the Voices of Wrestling Discord, can't recall the name exactly now, I apologize, but made an excellent point, made this great comparison where it's like, I wonder what Brian Alvarez thinks about Starscream in Transformers. Wait, did I say the name? I said Brian Alvarez. I was trying not to. Oh, well. I was trying to be cagey. Never mind that. But I wonder what, look, Alvarez has probably never watched Transformers. Otherwise, he'd probably be like, wait a second. Isn't Starscream fighting the Autobots? But he hates Megatron, who is the top heel, and he doesn't want to align with the top heel. Make Starscream an Autobot. Look, I just got carried away and I slipped. Didn't necessarily want to mention the gentleman by name, but he can take it. But honestly, that's weird. Like ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that it's strange to have that kind of thought where heels can't get along. Do we have to have? Are we pining for the days that the heels all banded together to take down the Hulkamaniacs at Survivor Series? Is this it? No, we can have heels. Don't have to get along. I don't know if you noticed a couple of weeks ago, but the Bucks and the Patriarchy are have a self-serving relationship, but they clearly don't trust each other. They don't like each other. I don't know. Is it just me? Like the heels don't always have to get along, just like all the baby faces don't have to get along. That's human nature. Will and Swerve were both baby faces. I wonder if Bryan had some issues there. What if Optimus Prime and Bumblebee started fighting? Anyway, okay, that's enough. But look, a tremendous match, and like I said, coming back to the match itself, pro wrestling perfection. And this is the shit that gets me. This is the shit that works. This is what gets me excited, as you can tell. This is the stuff that really gets the blood pumping, that makes me excited about pro wrestling, not people running around in masks in the dark, with giant hammers, not, whatever the hell else, incessant, angles about, about authority figures or, crime syndicates that aren't really crime syndicates or whatever. Like these are the things that make me love pro wrestling. This match here, the Ospreay Garcia match and the ensuing angle. Pro wrestling doesn't have to be this convoluted thing every time. It doesn't have to be War and Peace every time, quote unquote, a certain famous professional wrestler in the past. It doesn't have to. It can be ultimately simple when you have all the elements in place and the people with the talent to pull it off, put into these right places. We've said it multiple times. The AEW roster is quite possibly the greatest professional wrestling roster ever assembled in any period of human history. It quite possibly, right now, if you take a step back and an objective step back, and you look at top to bottom, who is signed to this company, and you go back to 2019 and you say, and you present that to someone in 2019, their head's gonna explode. And you look at it now and your head still explodes. But we're sort of lost in everything else, in all this discourse of where I find that the discourse regarding AEW is a perpetual defense mode. Everyone is always shields up, or everyone always trying to talk back against complete bad faith points. Where we fail often when it comes to AEW is to really underscore the successes, the good things when they do knock it out of the park, like last night's Dynamite, like they're doing with the women's division, like the collected roster that they have. The talent that is on this roster, and aside from that, the talent that they have on this roster right now should put you in a position where any angle you want to try out, you've got someone there to do it. You've got someone to push, someone who can get themselves over, someone who will fill in a role that you need and will fill it perfectly. That's the kind of roster that AEW has right now. This is what gets me excited in pro wrestling. The top of last night's Dynamite is the stuff that just reminds me why I'm a fan and why I stick to this company that has tested my patience, that has, that oftentimes makes me grit my teeth. I'm like, what direction are we going? When I see shows like last night, I remember and I understand why I still make disappointment viewing, why I still do reviews every Thursday. This is why. Should we talk about the rest of the card? Should we? Yeah, we should. We absolutely should. So why don't we go back to the start then instead of going? We'll go right back to the start. We talked about the cold open. And the first match that we got was the Bryan Danielson defeating PAC match in the Owen Hart Foundation men's tournament. This was the semifinal match. So this was an incredible match. And it started off with holy shit chants. Like, people knew what we got here. And commentary pointed it out. The last time that these guys fought was 15 years ago. It wasn't WWE, but they didn't say WWE, but it was 15 years ago. So right now, Danielson, he's on this stretch of having rematches, decades plus rematches with people that he hasn't seen or fought in all that time. So Shingo at Forbidden Door, now PAC, and it's rematch central. Crowd is super into this. I mean, this Wintrust audience, this Chicago crowd, they were into it. They were really, really into this match. They were into the entire show. Quite honestly, it was a fantastic crowd, but they also got a fantastic show, so go figure. PAC clobbers Danielson and lands a springboard moonsault to the floor, which is fantastic. He gets his heat segment in. Danielson fights back. Elbow drops by PAC, including one from the barricade on the floor. And then PAC lands a tombstone. And then the neck happens. And then we even get an avalanche brain buster. So then the story becomes, as I told you all, Danielson's neck. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand what Bryan Danielson's stories are moving forward. It is all about Danielson's neck. And it was here once again, it was compounded even more because after Danielson won the match, after they were trading submissions and Danielson just sneaked a win out of PAC with a crucifix, Doc Samson ran in to check on Danielson. What do you think, Adam Page? We're maybe jumping the gun here, but nonetheless, what do you think Adam Page is going to do in his match against Danielson in the finals of the tournament? What do you think he's going to do? Of course he's going to lean into this. This is the story. This is the tale. I don't know why anyone is surprised. I don't know why anyone doesn't think this is good. This is good. Danielson will only be able to he's coming in with all of his neck issues. And Page, who is essentially fresh because he hasn't been wrestling like in months, comes back. He's fresh. He's rested. He's going to have wrestled couple of matches, a little sprinkling of matches. Jeff Jarrett, Jay White. Meanwhile, Danielson's been on the run of a lifetime, wrestling like some of the biggest wrestlers in the entire world, flying to Mexico, flying to Japan. I mean, these stories tell themselves. What do you want from me? It's great. I gave this match 4.25 stars. I thought it was tremendous. What a great way to start. And I was like, okay, let's go. I don't think it, and you know what? Perfect, complete transparency here. For when that match was done, I was like, man, knowing AEW these days, this is probably the peak, right? This is, boy, was I wrong. Renee Paquette is with Willow backstage. She puts over her nothing matters smile anyway tagline, catchphrase, whatever you want to call it, and hypes up her match with Kris Statlander later in the evening. We go back to the ring with Mark Briscoe, who's already there, talks about losing the TNT ladder match, says Jack Perry must have ate an extra bowl of Lucky Charms and shoved a horseshoe up his ass to win the ladder match. And once again proving that Mark Briscoe should have a microphone every week on Dynamite. More than that, Mark Briscoe should be in big time programs in AEW, and not just for the mic stuff. Like the man is insane and can still go and have these crazy ass matches. And that's tremendous, but he's a package that is desperately needed more often on AEW. So I'm glad they're featuring him more. And they're going to feature him in the Blood and Guts match because he declared himself for being a member of Team AEW, despite him being the Ring of Honor World Champion. But again, I don't want to nitpick this. Besides, I don't want to go 2 hours on this. I feel like I could, but I don't want to. So after that, well, Jack Perry attacks him with the belt. Kyle O'Reilly runs in because Kyle O'Reilly and Mark Briscoe kind of have a nice little buddy pal chum partnership going. So Kyle O'Reilly comes in for the save, but Okada is right behind him, and Rainmaker is O'Reilly. And then the Bucks come out, they do an EVP trigger, and then the Acclaimed run in for the save with Billy Gunn. And I could not be less excited at the prospect of the Acclaimed in the Blood and Guts match. Like, clearly this is what we're saying. I said it on the Forbidden Door review. I think the Bucks are cold, and I think that feuding with the Acclaimed is not doing them any favors. And man, the Acclaimed in the Blood and Guts match doesn't work for me, brother. But a good, fun little angle. Don't get me wrong. It was set up some stuff. It's good. Renee is backstage with Toni Storm and Mariah May. They put over Mariah's match on Rampage, her semifinal for in the Owen tournament against Hikaru Shida. Toni says, "Oh, we're gonna be with you. Your girls are gonna be with you. I'll be with you." And Mina Shirakawa tuning in via satellite, which I thought was funny. No one ever says that anymore. That's tremendous. That made me chuckle. I don't care if it's consistent with the gimmick or not. I'm a sucker for jokes about old technology. Maybe because I am old. Then we had the Owen Hart Foundation women's tournament semi-final match. Willow Nightingale defeated Kris Statlander, and this one starts on the ramp. Like, Statlander comes out, she does her entrance, hits the ring with Stoke, and when Willow comes out, Statlander jumps out of the ring, just right up the ramp. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's go. It's supposed to be a personal blood feud kind of thing. And the girls made it feel that way. It's tremendous. It's tremendous. And Willow pounces Statlander right on the ramp, and just a great visual. And then they brawl around the ring. They finally get into the ring, and finally the match starts. Statlander gets in control. She has her heat segment. Willow does the cannonball senton off the apron. She would have liked to catch Stokely, but not today. tremendous German by Statlander back in the ring. Avalanche German suplex by Willow. Stoke then gets a chain, passes it to Statlander, who tries to use it, but it turns against her because Willow Nightingale rolls her up, gets the win. I'm a little surprised here that Willow won. I feel like Statlander needs a big win. Like, I can follow the story where, when they were all together, when they were still a trio, Stokely, Statlander, and Nightingale, when they were all a trio, Willow was obviously the top of the two wrestlers, right? She would be winning matches. She'd be moving forward, doing things, challenging for titles, winning titles, whereas Statlander was losing, right? And I think now, I think this is still tapping into this where it's like, Willow still may have the, her, still may have the edge over Statlander. Maybe. But I think that Statlander needed the win here. I think she needs to come across as a top heel prospect, like someone who can stand up to Willow. And I still think this is I still think this is a great potential money match that they're probably going to run again at Wembley. Like, at this point, I think we should all fully expect Statlander to stick her nose into Willow's business when she fights Mariah May in the finals. Yes, you have my official prediction. I think Mariah May's beating Shida. And they'll probably run Wembley, where probably Statlander will get the win there. Maybe, probably. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. But I'll tell you one thing. This match, 3 3/4 stars. I thought it was very, very, very good. And I like the heat to it. I like the energy, the pace, everything connected here. Tony Schiavone next is in the ring, and he introduces Dr. Britt Baker. She gets on the mic, she says she missed us, and talks about a road to rehabilitation. She tells us about, this fact that everyone would be always asking Tony and people, well, where's Britt? Where's Britt? What's wrong with Britt? Well, she's injured was the answer. But she went on to say, yeah, I was hurt, but I was getting better right up until last November when I really didn't start feeling well. And it turns out my entire right side stopped working, as she said, and I got a mini stroke. What do they call it? A transient ischemic attack. Ischemic attack. Sorry about the pronunciation if I. So essentially, she was like, yeah, I mean, there was a thing, but there was a much more personal thing happening, and it scared the hell out of me. And she said, I got to take some more time off. And Tony's like, come back to us when you're healthy. And there she is. She appreciated the reactions she got from her return, at Forbidden Door. And for that, she's thankful and will always be in the audience's corner, because at the end of the day, she's one of us, and she means that from the bottom of her heart. Like, you could not have, look, someone tell Alvarez that this is clear that Britt is a babyface. Okay. Like, there's no two ways to cut it. They wanted to make sure that you understood that she's not coming back as, the evil dentist or whatever. No. She's a babyface, which again sort of connects with what I was talking about earlier with Moné, with MJF. You could not bring Britt back and instantly have her as a heel. People would be too excited to see her. And this is the case that's happening here. Plus, you already turned Moné to accommodate this. Because that's also very clear that Moné is a heel now. I don't know if you know. But look, I like this line here that Britt used. She said that she heard that there's a new female face in the company, right? And that then she says it. Isn't it nice that she also has 3 letters, as her name, but she has those 3 letters that she didn't earn and forced the audience to chant with her because she put it in her entrance music, which I thought was pretty funny. Not gonna lie. And she says the only 3 letters that matter in this company are AEW, no, DMD. AEW would have been, that would have been a real babyface call there. But hey, you know. And then we see Mercedes Moné arriving on the Tonytron. She runs into the Bucks, who say, hey, we're setting everything up for your championship celebration. Go right there. So, I mean, it could not be clearer. She's in good graces, excuse me, with the Bucks. Clearly, she's a heel now. That's fine. So, you know, the stagehands or the ring crew, whatever you want to call them, they bring out the balloons and all the, you know, the typical bullshit. So they all bring it out, and while Britt is like, okay, what's going on? Mercedes arrives, and she dances and does her thing and pretends she didn't see Britt Baker there, and she cuts a great promo. Like this back and forth, I thought was great. I thought it was really, really good from both women. This was tremendous, and it was so good and so effective that Mercedes was getting shut the fuck up chance. Again, tremendous stuff. She wants everyone to know what a real star looks like. And Britt Baker challenges her to a match at All In. And she says, go to the back of the line. Britt says, what line? You know? So like, are we going to do a thing where Britt has to earn her spot? I kind of hope we do. Britt needs to get back into the ring. She needs to wrestle. She needs to, you know, she needs to babyface it up. And Moné can just like, you know, poo-poo and whatever. She can do the arrogant Sasha Banks stuff, which I think is tremendous. Look, this all connected. This all worked. Mercedes, you know, does the face pop, in her face, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know, go blump. Which I thought, I was like, okay, like the tension here was really good. Again, super successful segment. SSS. We get a recap of the end of the title match at Forbidden Door as well. So just to put us into context. And then Renee Paquette is with Will Ospreay backstage with Kyle Fletcher. And Don Callis shows up very quickly in this interview segment. You know, he tells Don Callis, look, it was my fault, not yours. I just didn't want to do it. And I think it's time that we part ways. Don Callis is like, you know, Will, you know, I don't usually, you know, and Will says, I'm grateful for you delivering, you know, all these opportunities for me, Kenny Omega and so on and so forth. But, you know, it's time for me to move on. I don't know if I can do this Don Callis family thing anymore. And Don is like, sure, Will, I'll do you this favor and let you out of your signed agreement, which is funny. He said, I'll let you out of this signed agreement. I'll give you this favor, but I might ask you for a favor in return somewhere down the line. Just a little tiny thing that they can go back to whenever they want, but just a little smidge, a little something, a little seed there, a little arc that they can explore later down the line. Whenever. Doesn't have to be next week or in the next month. It could be 6 months from now, which would be even more tremendous. But yeah, no, that's good, you know? And then Don Callis hits the bricks and says, Kyle, come on, you know, and Fletcher's like, he seems conflicted. Like, he's like, I also don't want to be. You get the vibes that Kyle also does not want to be in the Don Callis family anymore, but he probably doesn't have the leverage that Will Ospreay does to go up to Don and say, hey, I want out of my contract, basically. So that's interesting. My only problem with this little segment here is Will said that he apologized that he couldn't hit the Tiger Driver. He says, I couldn't get it done. But he says it in a way where, as if to say, I couldn't do the violent act. But he was doing it. You go back and listen to my review and actually watch the match. He actually picks up Swerve and proceeds to drop him down, but Swerve wriggles out of it as he's being dropped down. Not while he's at the top, not while Will is hesitating. No. He wriggles out of it. So Will Ospreay did have it in him to hit the Tiger Driver 91. I don't know what kind of weird retconning this is, You know, where he's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't bring myself to do it. No. You did do it. You were doing it. It's fine. This is strange. And I kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Where I'm like, I know it's a detail, it's a nitpick, but sometimes it's, you know, the devil is in the details when things that makes the difference between something great and something not great. Why are they trying to force feed this idea that Will didn't have the killer instinct when he clearly did? When he was actively dropping Swerve, because the spot was incredible. The way Swerve countered out of that was amazing, because he was being dropped. I don't know. Look, maybe it's just me. I don't, and even if it is, it doesn't matter. I sort of go, not a great taste in my mouth. I don't think anyone wants to hear me smack my lips too much. And then Chris Jericho showed up, tells the audience, oh, you know me, I have to have my TV time, which, look, all of this worked. Again, he basically says, I'm coming to do color commentary, and and he had an executive order. He went to see the Bucks. Nice little tie-in. See, sometimes the heels can all get along. And he got an executive order saying, hey, Taz has to hit the bricks because I don't trust him, because he's not a biased, he's a biased commentator. So they kicked Taz out. Taz is like, what the hell's going on? And then that sets up the match. Well, it doesn't set up the match, but Jericho does commentary for the next match where Samoa Joe, Katsuyori Shibata, and Hook defeated the Cage of Agony. Good match, good solid match. Look, these guys, or as I like to call them, the Tarantino Banter Club, they have to be in this trios title mix. They really do, and they have to have the trio titles. I think they work as a unit. It's tremendous. And but post-match, Chris Jericho feigns wanting to congratulate them, but then Big Bill and Brian Keith attack them from behind. There's a big beat down. Samoa Joe gets beat up on the steps, and Big Bill, Chris Jericho uses brass knuckles on Hook, and then that sets up a table spot where Hook gets choke slammed by Big Bill through the table. Great angle once again. And I liked how Chris Jericho was like, you did the cardinal sin. He was talking about Hook, where he did the cardinal sin of stealing another guy's finish, which is mine, you know. He says, Taz, you know about this stuff. And I thought that was funny too. Like, you don't steal another man's gimmick. Taz, you know what I'm talking about. It's good stuff. And then even later on, Hook is backstage, is being looked after. Then he gets attacked by Jericho and his branches. And Jericho pulls out the fireball. So getting all of his heat back and then some. It's good. And I'm sorry to say, the learning tree stuff is working. And this is why Chris Jericho will be remembered fondly as one of the best pro wrestling minds, because he's done it again. He's leaned into all the reasons people hate him, and people are tuning in more. So you go figure that one out on your time, because I'm going to wrap this up. I think we've been through everything, right? Yeah, well, I think we've covered everything. We've covered everything. Just an excellent Dynamite. Like, you should carve out time in your week to watch it. It was just so good. Thank you all very much for joining me. If you haven't already, give a like on this video on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, and subscribe if this is your first time here. If you like this stuff, there'll be more. There's these reviews every week. There's the podcast every week. There's a lot of stuff here on the channel that you would probably enjoy. So I'd love to have you stick around, consider subscribing, or leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify if you like the audio side of things. Available on all your favorite podcast applications, of course. So that would be tremendous as well if you want to follow me on that. And I will be back Tuesday to record the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. And in the meantime, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.